Welcome to Journey to Service, and today we've got a guest appearance from Hamid. Hamid, I don't think I've ever asked you how you pronounce your last name. I think, well, actually,
That's
I did.
why I've never really offered it.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll call him Hamid B. is
Yeah.
joining us on Journey to Service as a special guest star, and of course, Randall Kaiser is back today too. Randall, how are you?
Stars? He's a star?
Well, you are a star too. We're all stars.
Are we stars?
We're all stars, man.
I love you. Go ahead, William.
All right. Well, Cody may be joining us partway through the show. He's busy doing some business right now, and things are getting kind of exciting in the world of money. And I remember something that I saw earlier this week. Actually, Hamid had posted some interesting comments on Facebook about a very promising looking future, especially in February. Things are really starting to happen in February, according to some of the information and intel we've been seeing on places like Telegram and Facebook and other places. Hamid, would you like to speak on that a little bit, and I'll let you guide as to where we go from there.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak about two things. I'm gonna talk about February, and then I'm gonna talk about what is the sort of banking and resources on this planet. So what I like to do is triangulation, which means I like to have multiple sources say the same thing. Months ago, I heard from Michelle Fielding that February is going to be a big month. She said February is going to be big because it's the month that we go to the year of tiger in Chinese astrology. And also it's the time that Starlink is going to launch. So that's one data point. Then a couple of days ago, I saw that President Trump's Truth Media is going to launch on basically 22nd of February, 2/22/22. For the American people, for Canadians would be 22/2/22. And then Nassim Haramein is the physicist that I really, have a lot of respect and love for. I heard in the latest interview with one of his assistants that his magnificent research, which is basically solving Einstein's theory of everything, is going to launch on 22/2/22/22, and that would enable us to start considering things like free energy and anti-gravity. So those are three data points which are super important. And then another one, it's that from an astrological point of view, we are going to go to USA is going to go to its Pluto return, something astrologically, which causes massive transformation. So those are the data points. But then there are people like Elena Danone, Megan Rose, Dr. Michael Sala, James Gilliland, Gerard Rand, Tony Rodriguez, that have been saying that what we are experiencing is a pantomime, and this is basically the end game. And what happened is that the cabal gave up and they surrendered December of last year, and they will be leaving through Antarctica. So that's another thing that is happening, and therefore February is a perfect month for that aligns with that. And also Gene Decode has been saying that we are on the highest timeline, and therefore we are going to start seeing things very rapidly. That all aligns with February being this incredible month. So the next thing I want to talk about is resources and money, and Randall has an interesting side on that, and I have a different side of that. And I think before I talk about that, I let you guys talk about this, and then I want to go back and talk about resources and money, and from my side, how that looks like.
Sounds good, Hamid. Just for a little bit of clarification before we go to Randall, is You mentioned a couple of names there. So Michelle Fielding, she is a channeler for anyone that doesn't know that already.
Sorry. Yes, Michelle Fielding is a pretty reputable channeler, as in reputable, as in within the Twitter community. She's, you know, she's been on all the sort of a circuit of the talk show hosts. She's been on Mike Jaco, and she's been on Nicholas Benjamin, and so she's very reputable. And energetically, she's very sweet and very soft and very calming. But also the way she talks about the Galactic Federation of the Worlds, or Galactic Federation, she's very, she's not so, the way she talks about Galactic Federation, or the way Earth Alliance, or whatever you want to call them, she never answers in yes only. It's always yes and no, which is weird. But even like there was a question asked from her that, you know, if people get deplatformed, because you're telling us, Michelle, that, you know, white hats are in control. But I think it was Mike Jaco and asked her, it's like, so you're saying that when I get deplatformed, or some Twitter guy gets deplatformed, that's being allowed, or that white hats are in charge? Why do they help that? And her answer was quite crazy. And she said, yes, a lot of stuff that is happening right now, although it looks really bad, it's actually done by, it's being allowed by the white hats, because let's say if somebody is a truther and they have a big following, and somebody keeps going to them and they become their go-to source of information. So the white hats would allow the black hats to deplatform this person and not do anything about it, because in so doing, all the people who have been following this truther no longer can just go follow and get all the stuff from one source, that they have to do their own research. And that's what the white hats, that's what the Earth Alliance really wants. They don't want one source. So it's like even something as drastic and as ugly as deplatforming somebody is actually has other reasons. And she talks even about the vaccines, and everything that she says got multiple sides to it. That one side is what you could see, and the other side is something that it's very hard to see. And she always talks like almost on both sides of her mouth. But this thing about February, the way she's been talking about February, and also Starlink launching, all of that stuff is very, she's plain about that. The other things she always says, yes and no, but she's been talking about this February thing very, very strongly, which is unusual.
Right. Thank you for that clarification, and we'll get more clarification on some of the other names you mentioned too, just again for the benefit of the viewers when we come back to you and in a group conversation. But Randall's also had a pretty exciting week. This has been a pretty exciting week all the way around, but Randall gave me a certain project to do here, which I finished yesterday for the most part, and that was exciting in and of itself. But Randall, you've got so many things going on, I don't even know where to begin. What would you like to talk about?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for that amazing video, William. I mean, I did my little part in the center, but all of the coordination and the music and everything, Martin McNichol did the original video that we opened that video with and whatnot. It's just stunning work, like both of you guys. I just applaud you both for helping me with that, because it's something that we had to we can keep on our YouTube channel, because my YouTube channel is so small, and like I've said to you before the show started, nobody really understands what I'm saying anyway. I'm a fucking alien. And it's like, so, you know, let it go. But it was beneficial to some of the people that I know that you know, work in the realms that I do in the banking system. And boom, they were like, holy fuck. Excuse my language, but holy shit. You know, so it was, you can't imagine how much you helped me with that, William. That was beautiful. So thank you. But, you know, on the side of alternative media and black hat, white hat thing, I mean, I like what Hamid said about triangular something. He mentioned a word there about getting confirmation from various groups, right? And yes, I do take a look at a little bit of alternative media. None of the people that Hamid mentioned, I don't follow basically anybody. Like I just, you know, Marty Leeds is a guy that I look at, Eric DeBay, that's on the flat earth side, and a few other guys. But other than that, you know, like I just work, like, you know, my business is my life, and focus is my thing, because I can't, you know, lose focus, because we are at such a beautiful place in this banking world. So, you know, the black hat, white hat story is still, in my mind, legal jurisdiction. You know, that's still good guy, bad guy stories, you know, and I'm not saying it's wrong, please, you know, like I'm a Trump's not supporter, but I think he's coming back, like I honestly do. And there is an agenda there, a white hat agenda, a good guy agenda, right? It's still an agenda. Is it divine in nature? Is it aligned with the whole idea of everything is perfect moving towards completion? No, you know, because they still, you know, he'll come out and publicly say, Biden, 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 China, China, China. Like, is it a coded and all that stuff? I don't know. But when you're doing that kind of stuff, you know, and it doesn't resonate with the idea that everything is perfect moving towards completion. It's still a good guy, bad guy story to get an agenda of these white hat guys into a place where everybody is like, yeah, 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 you know, we're the good guys and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather just joke around about that stuff, you know? Like, of course, these governments are complete insane morons. Like, it's fucking obvious. They're just complete insane morons, you know, trying to push this thing. In Canada, they're going to mandate everyone. Whatever. What a bunch of idiots. And it's so obvious, like Hamid just said earlier, that they're doing that to wake the people up. Because if you can't see how moronic that is, then just go back to your pineal gland stare, and, you know, it's just amazing. These doctors and nurses and lawyers and academia who are completely, you know, still not seeing what a ridiculous pantomime this is at the government level. Like, God, it's just pathetic, you know? And I joke around, I'm going to tie it up here pretty quick and let it back to Hamid, but, you know, went down to the rally yesterday. I was joking around with some of the cops. I said, you guys better be careful. Like, you're going to need some more backup here, because I heard they're going to storm the city hall and you're going to need some more. Guy says, oh, that'll be fun. He goes, and I said, well, I'm just kidding. Then we laughed. Oh my God, those cops are totally on our side. Like I said, you know that they're trying to save you from this bullshit, right? And they're just going like this to me again, of course, the cops, eh? But I know I'm right. My brain is functioning very fast today. I'm sorry. I'll try and slow it down. But I'm in day 4 of my fast. If you want to get your pineal gland vibrating at a very high speed, try fasting, because it works, I'm telling you. And yes, I had 2 lumps of sugar in my tea yesterday with the deputy mayor, who I'm going to give a plug to, okay? Karen, my little friend who was in the video yesterday, that I call the deputy mayor. She says, I'm not accepting any titles. She is one smart cookie, I'm telling you. And Karen, I'm going to give you a shout out here, because if anyone is still in a situation that's watching this show, that potentially the bankers who are trying to keep the secret of who the creditor and who the debtor is, if anyone's struggling with something like that, please let me know. I'll hook you up with her. She's very private. She doesn't work in the public, but she's a smart cookie and she can help. Okay, so I'm going to give Karen a little plug, my deputy mayor, sovereign deputy mayor. Now I'll let it back to Hamid and see where we go from there. Or you, William, throw another question.
Awesome, Randall. Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to add one more little thing with you before I go back to Hamid. But our other regular star of the show is not here today, Lee Mudway. But Lee did share some interesting things on Telegram this morning, including a piece from, I can't even remember the person who contributed it on Telegram, but basically said Canadians might be next because all the premiers are getting together with Trudeau this week, and they're going to make some decisions that are going to eliminate all Canadians' freedom of choice and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I noticed, Randall, you kind of howled at that, but did you have anything you wanted to say about that particular post?
It's perfect, moving towards completion. They have to expose themselves as the morons that they are. They have to. It's over now. Like the white hats in this white hat, black hat story are forcing them, if they're even the real people and not puppets or you know, wearing a piece of skin over top of their other skin. I've heard all kinds of stories like that too, you know. Oh, Trudeau's no more anymore. He's just an actor. Well, okay, fine, whatever it is. It doesn't matter to me because they're there to expose the moronic activity of government. That's what they're there to expose now to the masses who are still scratching their head. You know, I'm okay. I better go pick another one of these because I want to go to the hockey game. But then they're saying, yeah, but you got to get one more if you want to go to the hockey game. And you can only go. This was hilarious. This guy says to me the other day, he lives downstairs. He says, yeah, we got a notice. He paid $400 for 2 tickets to a honeymoon night at this casino, right, for New Year's Eve. And he said, you know, the drinks are included. He got this suite with his darling and everything. You know, there was a live band and all this. Of course, they had to have this and they had to have this and everything else, you know, to go. And he said he got an email just before he went. And they said, you guys, we're going to cut off the bar at 11 o'clock. Like it's New Year's, for Christ's sake. But they can't get any more drinks at 11 o'clock. So I seen him the next day and he says, well, it actually worked out pretty good for us, he goes. And I said, how did that, what do you mean? He says, well, you know, our table was so, there wasn't very many people showed up. So there was 8 other seats at our table, or 8 seats at our table, and we were the only 2. And at 11 o'clock, they put champagne at 8 spots. So him and his darling got 8 shots, or 4 each, of champagne. But how moronic is that one? Okay, you 14-year-olds, you can't go out till midnight. You can only go out till 11 o'clock. Talk about making fun of the situation. These idiot morons that are going to meet and take away all of our rights. Okay, doctors, okay, police officers, have you really had enough yet? Or are you just going to keep going along with this stupid pantomime? Really? I'm sorry. That was my comment on that, you know, the leaders are going to meet.
Gotcha. I knew that was going to make you chuckle. I knew that was going to make you laugh. Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm trying to remember who I heard this from, like which channel, but and for the life of me right now, it's not coming to mind. But what was said was that, actually it was Cliff High. Cliff High's yesterday on his yesterday's post mentioned that you're going to see some strange shit happening in the next little while. Some really out of left field, didn't expect that, weird stuff happening, because things are really unraveling, unfolding. And of course, you know, good in the good guy, bad guy story, if you want to go with that scenario, is that the bad guys are now desperate and they're throwing all kinds of stuff out there, and who knows what's going to happen. So I'm kind of curious about that. I do want to go back to Hamid, and Hamid was talking about some folks that I follow as well, Elena Danan and Michael Sala. And I know Michael put out a post yesterday, as did Elena. She actually had like almost a 2-hour show, and Hamid had watched that. But Hamid, you'd made reference to some of the things you wanted to talk about, and I believe it was around some of their input as well as other things around the financial system and what might be happening in February.
Yeah, I just wanted to address something before that, since Randall brought up the New Year's thing. I live in a city here in Mexico that we almost have no COVID. I mean, when I say as in there is no, you don't see any kind of regulations or any kind of anything. And
Don't use that word. Don't use that word.
Yeah. So I'm gonna call it C19.
Okay.
And then the thing is that it's not really much any kind of, we don't even have to wear masks here or muzzles, as I like to say. Anyways, and it's a beautiful city, it's a gorgeous city, and it's a beach city, and we had amazing weather. So I never go out. Nobody goes out these days, but I don't go out, and there isn't much to do. But I'm like, okay, let's New Year's Eve. It's it's the most important year of the whatever night of the year. And I went out like at 8 p.m. and I live in like downtown, like the heart of the downtown, and there was nothing happening whatsoever. Like there is no regulation. Nobody had to wear masks. Nobody had to do anything. Nobody asks you for anything. And it's a perfect weather, and there was nothing. So it's like this deadness right now. It's not just based on regulation. It's in people's spirit. They're like, that's one thing. It's important to notice. Anyways, I want to go back. Pre-show, Randall spoke about all the stuff that's happening on the banking side. I'm sure he'll talk about it again, but this is my response to what he was saying. So I'm going to talk about what is happening from my point of view in terms of banking and resources and finances. So Elena Danan's video yesterday was important because she talked about this banking situation actually has to do with they are actually using black magic. They have been using black magic forever, and black magic is really a big part of what the cabal does. Or maybe I shouldn't use that word one, the cabal, because she wasn't using that word. Maybe YouTube doesn't like that word. Anyways, these the deep state people, they use black magic for everything. So that's one side of it. So this banking thing, the banksters, they have been using black magic. And part of what the Alliance did, and this is what Earth Alliance and then Una, who gave a message to Elena recently, who works with the Intergalactic Confederation and the Nine. She said when they surrendered, they're supposed to, the banksters and these people who have the black money magic, they're supposed to uncast this thing and also give us the codes of how they did it. So that's one side of this whole financial thing that I wanted to bring up. And then the other thing is that I wanted to say is that according to Gene Decode, 26 quadrillion dollar worth of gold was discovered under Vatican. The 26 quadrillion, it's a big amount. That means 26,000 trillion, and that was under Vatican, and that's actually what's her name? Mel K had actually talked about that a while ago. So that's one thing. And the 26 quadrillion, if you give to each person on Earth, we each get $1 million or something. It's crazy. It's like a huge amount of money. But then Jane Decode said another thing, which it's kind of hard to believe. But she said there's actually 700 septillion, which is 1,000 quadrillion, and 700. So that's how much money, how much resources there is on this planet. So that's another thing. Then, so that's the amount of money, the amount of gold. And it's like if we actually have the resources and not taken by, but by the dark ET agenda or their, their minions on Earth, it's like, the 0.1% of the 0.1%, then there is so much money. But then there's another aspect to this, and which is, Gerard Rand has talked about replicators, and we're gonna have replicators. So that's one thing. And then Nassim, her main research, the researcher guy was saying yesterday, I was listening to him, he said, we have no technologies that we can actually create matter. And like there's a way that gold becomes gold. And now we have technologies that, maybe the way gold becomes gold is that, there's something in the dirt and it takes millions of years and that turns into gold. Now we have a process, there is a process that they have created in Nassim's lab and with their work, that 1 million years of whatever that it takes to go from dirt to gold, now that can be compressed to 1 hour, and they have that technology. So that's another thing that we have for bringing resources. Then there's another thing that Gerard Rand talks about, and that's that there are broad-range replicators. And if you have broad-range replicators on this planet, Star Trek style broad-range replicators, then you can just make anything you want. And of course, actually, this goes with Nassim's stuff, because probably replicators use the same technology as turning anything into anything, turning air into something. And so that's another thing, that these replicators are coming, which makes that, I want a car, I want something, whatever you want, you can replicate it. So this idea of resources and money and all that will go away eventually. And finally, is this thing that I have always talked about, is about human body, the way human body distributes wealth, and the way that we use ATP. And I've said this, that the way human body does ATP is not, there are 3 ways of one could look at it. It's like, first, the ATP, which is called energy coin of the body, it goes to every cell of the body. Therefore, it's not capitalism. It's not some cells have energy and some cells are dying. That's not the case. Then one would think, okay, so then it's communism. Does it go to does every cell of the body get the same amount? No, it's not. It's meritocracy. It's based on how important a cell is in the body. So a skin cell gets 1/300th of a nerve cell, because a skin cell, you lose 50,000 cells in the body per day and you wouldn't even know. Whereas if you lose 5 nerve cells, you can't move a finger. Therefore, the resources go to all the nerve cells, and so it's based on meritocracy. But finally, then each cell goes to a higher, receives all the resources that it wants. It no longer hoards that energy in it. It puts it out. So the cell, when they are at their highest, best space, energetic space, and they have everything they want, they put anything they have outside. And actually what you are, what every human being is a repository of all the energy. So it's like when I move my finger, I'm not using the energy of my finger, I'm using the energy that the cells in my finger are putting away. And we are the collective of the energy of the repository that comes out of the stuff that our cells don't need. And so that's when we go towards an Earth which is working as one mechanism, as human body. That's the ways the resources are gonna be on this planet. So that's my sort of a broad aspect of, from all the way from black magic to human body, that how I look at this banking situation from the nitty-gritty sort of aspect of sort of logistical, that this happens also has to do with black magic, all the way to there would be a way that we don't even need money and resources, and we would work like a human body.
Wow. That was definitely a broad overview, because if we get into, there was so much juicy bits there. If we go and dissect everything you just said, Hamid, we would be here for hours going into each of these things. It's just amazing. I don't even know which one I want to pick because they're all so, it's sort of like being a kid in a candy store or a healthy vineyard. How about that? Where there's all kinds of different fruit and you don't know, and you love fruit and you don't know which fruit to pick because they all look so good and they're all ripe at the same time. And you go, which one do I want? That's so good. But the one thing that I'm going to clarify something for some of the viewers. Again, Michael Sala is a researcher on something called exopolitics. And Hamid can definitely jump in here and clarify things more because I know that he's been studying this way longer than I have. Elena Danaan was a person that actually was, well, I don't think she ever uses the word abducted, but she and Megan Rose were both people that had actually come in contact with aliens through their own personal journeys, and I'll keep it that broad for now.
I just want to actually interject here.
Sure.
Elena Danaan was abducted. Both Elena and Megan Rose were abducted by the very horrible gray ETs. Elena was abducted at age 9, and they did this is all in her book and in her videos, and she doesn't hide this. This is her whole thing. So at age 9, Elena Danaan was abducted by gray ETs, and they basically destroyed her womb. And when they were about to kill her and completely destroy her, the positive ETs, which is her contact, Torhan Eredian and other people, came and rescued her. So Elena was abducted at age 9. Megan Rose was also abducted at age 5, and then I think age 9. And the same team, Torhan and another one, Valnek or something,
yeah,
Valtor. I think Valtor or Valnek, one of them. Their team, who's actually on Torhan's team, and Torhan is he calls himself part of Galactic Federation of Worlds. They rescued them. So they were abducted, they were targeted for very dark futures, and both of them were rescued. And in the process, the Greys put an implant in Elena's head to track her and to destroy her. And Torhan's team actually used that the implant they had. The Greys had put that for their purposes. Torhan's team took that implant and changed the frequency so that they could connect with Elena, so that she would work with the positive ETs. And also they put an implant in Megan Rose. So this is how these people connect with the ETs.
Gotcha. That's a great clarification. And how would you describe Jared Rand? I think
Jared Rand is he's sort of an oddball. I don't really know so much about him. He's not a contactee. He believes that he was, he was kind of had like perfect consciousness from like the time he was born or something. I don't really know so much about him.
Yep.
But the guy that really surprises the hell out of me, and he's super powerful, is Gene Decode. And Gene has actually, Gene talks about things like, talks about multiple timelines, that how he has seen Earth die, and how he has seen, how he lives in a reality. He has been, because there is this thing we talk about, Mandela effect. And Gene Decode was, he was with his wife, and he had a neighbor with like 2 daughters or something. And these people said, okay, can you watch out our cat when we travel or something? And then like, okay. And then they come back, and Gene is like, I was watching your cat when your other daughter, and the other's like, the neighbor's like, what daughter? I don't have a daughter. And then, so suddenly it was another reality that this person didn't have a daughter. And then Gene talked about his talked to his wife, and he said, they don't even have a daughter or something. And his wife said, oh, I thought they have a son. So that was another reality. And then they saw them again in the street, and there was a daughter, and then they're magically, and then they're like, this wasn't the daughter I remembered. And the wife's like, me neither. So this is kind of an insanity that gene decode lives with. He's like, he jumps into like timelines, like, you know, that suddenly you go in your room and then like the wall is not there. That's the gene decode's reality. So,
Right, and he has some soldier background too, right? He works with the military.
he was in U.S. Navy.
Right.
He was in the U.S. Navy, and he was a submarine guy. And yeah, he's one of the weirdest, craziest, most powerful people out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and interesting, we follow them all. The one thing the reason I was bringing up Jared though is I was following Jared for a while. I was really excited about his broad range replicator, BRR. And last week on our show, we talked a lot about projects, and I shared with everyone the vision that I had to build a volleyball facility here. I actually talked with Jared Rand on the phone one night because he does regular calls.
Yeah, he's super open. You can just call him and ask him any question you want. Every week he does it.
So we went, I told him about the same vision, the same dream about wanting to build this facility in Vancouver where people can play volleyball and other sports, and have it centrally located and other really cool things. And he said, you could use the BRR to create that in hours versus, you know, having to get construction people and go through all the permits and do all this and do all that. It was fascinating. But at the same time, I'm sure like if a lot of the normies tuned into our show and listened to all of this, you've got to believe that they're going to be scratching their head and say, how can you believe all this stuff? This is way off the wall. This is like so not what I grew up with, you know, and we're going to see so much more of that. And hold that thought, Hamid, because I'm sure you have some thoughts on that. But I want to talk with Randall a little bit about, you know, the cognitive dissonance that I'm sure that we're going to be seeing a lot of people experiencing as we start to shift into this new reality. What can you say to that, Randall? Is that how can people adjust to this? It's going to be a big shift coming up here.
Well, the shift for me is that I always consider myself very grounded. Like and this is the beauty of this show today, is that we're open to all of this stuff. Like, and that's what I like about this, you know, and I love about Hamid. We have such a wide variance in our beliefs, right? Because that's what it is, what we believe. And yet we're buddies, like, you know, like I'm on this flat earth plane, right? That's where I live, and I function there. People will talk to me about timelines or even, you know, past lives and stuff. Well, I think I might have been a tree. And then if I was something after a tree, I was a monkey. You know, I just joke around with it because I don't have a clue. And do I run it down? No, you can choose to believe whatever you choose. That's what freedom is. And that's where we are truly free, is in that realm of belief, right? We can believe whatever we want, as much as, you know, the real idiocracy of government. Idiocracy, is that a word? Moronic activities of government, as much as they want to do to a human being, a person as they call them, that person still has freedom to believe whatever they want. You know, so it's beautiful. And I like the idea of the two of you talking on this show to our audience today, because I'm not running any of it down. You know, it's your choice. Everybody has that choice to you know, attach to whatever they want, as far as you know, the shape of the earth, the science and stuff like that, which I admittedly have really no experience at all in, you know, like I don't. But I wanted to bring it back a little bit, because a lot of the shows that we do here talk about banking, and I wanted to comment. I did write a few things down actually that Hamid had mentioned. So bringing it back into that black magic of the banking system, right? Well, we've been exposing that for the last year and a half, and the coding too, William, you and I, like with the AG and the AU, the autograph and the agreement, the PB being primary banking, where they turn the lead into gold with your autograph and agreement, right? The whole idea of secondary banking, SB, in the periodic tables, which is where magic happens, is in the elements, right? SB being anti-money. So, you know, we've decoded that whole system as far as the black magic of it. What did we do? Instead of saying we just need to wipe it all out and go into QFS, I've said for a long time, and I'm not bragging about this, I'm just saying I've said it for a long time, work with and not against. Infiltrate the system with, instead of quantum financial system. I don't like the word financial to start with because it resonates with the whole finance, which is based on limitations. So quantum consciousness, why not infiltrate that banking system with quantum love, with quantum consciousness, with quantum integrity? You know, that's why they're scared of me. And I can't put that video that we put up on our regular website. On this little site where we only get a couple hundred viewers, well, nobody knows what I'm talking about anyway, like we said before the show started. So what the hell? If somebody grasps a little bit of what I'm saying and latches onto it, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm an alien. I don't talk in the same language as most people. And that's where I think of the word alien. It's the people that I deal with are mostly alien because they don't function in the good guy, bad guy legal jurisdiction. The white hat, a lot of them don't even know what I'm talking about if I bring any of that up. They're so far beyond that in their world of these royal families and kingdoms, right? And they live amongst us, but yet they don't function in it. You know, be the damned if they're going to go and get this thing in their arm. That's why I attach to them so easy. It's like, yeah, right. You know, we're going to play that game. That's down in the good guy, bad guy realms, down in that legal jurisdiction universe. And I've used this same language for every time we come on the show. The other ones that I wanted to talk about, the volumes that Hamid mentioned, you know, going from the big amount that was under the Vatican in that tunnel that runs up to Switzerland or somewhere else. I don't know where they talk about. And that one is in the limelight of the black hat, white hat story, right? And possibly the amount or the asset or the collateral that's going to change government level, okay? Government level, we're talking about Trumpy and those guys, government level currency back to a gold-backed currency again, possibly. I don't have any argument with that. But is there more? Hell yeah. We've been on this planet, whether you call it a spinning ball or a flat plane, for how many thousands, maybe millions of years. Lemuria disappeared under the ocean at one civilization time, and that area is still exposed a little bit by the Philippines and the Indonesian archipelago, thousands and thousands of islands that were the tops of mountains, right? You know, the rest of it's under the water. Atlantis, which we believe, or I believe, and I'll say believe because that's what, you know, I haven't seen it, is off the coast of Portugal, you know, in the Atlantic Ocean, and all sunk there too. So how much was mined in each of those times, okay? And how long before that, when there was giants on this earth, like that I've heard stories of, and I'm not going to deny that either, when they had a lot bigger equipment that was able to mine a lot faster than what we can now. You know, like, so as far as the volumes of precious metals and even precious stones that exist on this earth and are still here, because I don't believe they could ever leave, you know, like I think it's here, whether that's a sphere or a circle, it can't go, you know, like I just don't believe that they can take that if there's a they. So I'm never going to buy into that one. I think that all of the stuff that was mined on this earth over the thousands or millions of years we've been here is still here. And because these precious metals have always been, you know, precious, in the minds of people who thought about them that way. Maybe it's just because they're shiny. I don't know. You know, who knows back when. But it's always been precious. So they used it in the form of power in a monetary situation, you know? So is there more than that shitload that was under the Vatican? Hell yeah. Is it thrown in the ocean somewhere where, like I've said to you on the show before, when Chiang Kai-shek made a run from the communists over to Taiwan, he said, well, when I get there, they might take my gold too. So they dumped a freaking load of it in the ocean. I've been to Fujian City, Fujian, in Fuzhou City, Fujian province in China. Big guns aimed at Taiwan, like as if Taiwan's a threat to China. Come on. So what are they protecting? That big pile that's under the ocean or under the water in between Taiwan, and nobody goes near that one. The stuff that's in the Philippines and Indonesia blow anybody's mind if they even just thought about it. You know, we don't think in terms of math. Like, I was glad that Hamid brought up some of those numbers, because mathematics is something that most people don't even, you know, don't even want to go there, you know. I laughed yesterday, real quick story, and then I'll send it back to you guys. Was that there's a reconstruction. They're putting up a berm down in Calgary here to keep the river back from the next flood, whatever, you know. They're predicting, how they can ever predict Mother Nature is beyond me, but they're predicting that it'll only go this high, so we're going to put this berm in, right? So it's like all these metal pilings that they're driving in and everything. $33 million project. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, there's, you know, maybe a few $100,000 worth of steel, and then they brought in this equipment to pound it in the ground, and then they had to have some cash. But the engineers certainly got paid, and the architects and everything. I think that's where the majority of that money went, of the 33 million. Then there's a sign that says, because in that process, they had to put these two walkway bridges off, like to get up onto this bridge that's going to be protected, right? It's a 100-plus-year-old bridge that they're going to protect with this $33 million project. So on this sign, it says $2 million for the ramps, these concrete walkway ramps to go up on this bridge. $2 million, boy. Can you imagine? Like it takes, you know, about, I'm going to say 60, 70 feet, because they made them wheelchair ramps, right? So they made them fairly long to get up onto this bridge. $2 million. Give me a break. Like maybe $20,000 worth of concrete there, you know. Okay, let's go 50, you know, just give them a break. $50,000 worth of concrete. And the rest of it, the other 1,900,900 or 800,000, whatever,
Yep,
is for what? That's what the insanity of government, right in our faces all the time, with these signs telling us this is where your tax dollars went. Whatever. It's just so pathetic. The government jurisdiction, I can't even handle it. I'll pass it back to you, William.
all right, thank you, Randall. I already recognize that we've invited Hamid, and we've given him some time, and we've given you some time, Randall, and it's just amazing how quickly the time goes. We're already getting close to the hour, and I feel like we're just barely scratching the surface. It seems like every week I kind of say that these days, that the amount of content and the value of what you guys bring is quite amazing. And we'll have to have Hamid back in the future, obviously, because we just, like I said, we just got started here. But I do want to give Hamid an opportunity right now to jump in with any last thoughts with regards to anything he wants to say, either from what Randall said or about anything quantum financial related. I did have one question I'm going to toss at you too, Hamid, if you don't mind, and that is about dates. We sometimes get hooked on dates. We were given a bunch of dates throughout 2021, and it seemed like a lot of the dates, nothing ever happened, at least from, you know, the perspective of the general public. And I, for one, got a little too tied into, you know, dates on the calendar. Oh, this is going to happen on this date, and this is supposed to happen here. And I think we've seen and learned over time that, you can't always count on dates. And early on, you mentioned, February 22nd and the bunch of tutus going there, second month, 22nd day, 22nd year of this century, and, all of the relevance of that. And once again, I kind of feel like I'm excited about it. But given the past experience that I've had, is I don't want to put too much hope or emphasis on, all of a sudden everything's going to change on February 22nd. Any thoughts or feelings you have about that, or anything that Randall has said, or any final thoughts about anything financial that you wanted to share on this show today?
Yeah, so I have a tremendous amount of date fatigue. I hate dates. That's why I believe in triangulation. So triangulation means that you have different sources saying the same thing. And this is different when it's in the basically mainstream media that President Trump is going to launch his Truth Media company on basically February 22nd. That's not something that Mike Jaco said. That's not something that Mel K said. That's something that it's hard information, that it's undeniable. And I heard from Nassim people that Nassim's science is going to hit on 22nd. Again, Nassim is become a mainstream guy. So these are the dates. Then Michelle Fielding has been talking about this, and the fact that it's undeniable that we are going to the Chinese New Year of the tiger in February. So that's another thing that is undeniable. And astrologically, we're gonna go through Pluto transformation, Pluto return or something of the USA, which causes transformation. So that's another thing. These are not based on some truth or somebody saying something. It's not even gene decode, Elena Danan. This is stuff which is actually happening, has nothing to do with somebody's belief or somebody's say so. It's actually things that are pretty important. Now I want to go back to talk about this this thing about as Colin, my teacher, calls it, really the main disease of this planet, which is cognitive dissonance. And how do we deal with cognitive dissonance? And where do the people get their cognitive dissonance? Is through mainstream media and is through media. So when President Trump launches his superly powerful media conglomerate of Truth Media in February 22nd, in February, it's gonna make a gigantic change in terms of the mainstream media and the media that people can consume. And that media that people consume would affect what they think and what their reality is. So that would affect cognitive dissonance. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that the two movies right now, Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections, and Don't Look Up, both, if you look at it with a sort of a analytical point of view, you'll see that they are about cognitive dissonance. And Matrix 4 is about how you could literally be shot. You could be shot. You could be in a building which is on fire, and you still say, oh, this is all in my head. This is all in my head. This is not happening. It's showing you, the movie is showing you how cognitive dissonance works. And Don't Look Up shows you how a planet killer could be coming, and with cognitive dissonance, you won't see it. So that's the cognitive dissonance thing. And then one last piece is this about how you change people's mind is through getting them to understand that this is back to the point that Jared Rand said you could create a whole basketball court. And how do people can go there? How can people think like that? The way that people can think like that is by seeing everything is frequency. And if everything is frequency, that vibration, that wave can be manifested and can turn into a hologram. And one of the things that I heard on the Nassim's researcher guy saying that they have a speaker. They had a speaker. In that speaker can not only, it can do frequency. It's not just sound, it can actually send out frequency. And when you send out frequency, they had the frequency of THC. So they went out and they came back, and this frequency of THC, one of the researchers, when they came, the guy was completely high. He hadn't used any marijuana, but THC frequency had been broadcast to him. So that's another thing. So if your average people has this speaker and then they get high on it, they can see that frequency can change. And if they can see that, they can experience that little by little, they can see, okay, maybe there is more to this. The other thing is that, there is the Rife machine right now going on and becoming bigger and bigger. And Nadia is actually getting her own Rife machine. And actually the Nassim researcher was saying that we are learning that what helps people, what the medicine is actually not the actual medicine, is the frequency. So if you can give the frequency of medicine, like a Rife machine, then it solves people. And then this technology of the Rife machine, the Spooky 2 technology, is that it also has quantum entanglement, which means you don't even have to be there. You can just you can transmit the correct vibration and it will heal people. So when you start seeing stuff like that, then you can see that everything is frequency, everything is vibration, everything is wave. And sorry, the one last thing that Randall brought up, it's really, really important. And this is what Robert Tennyson Stevens speaks about, and is really deeply important. It's about the conscious language and speaking language. Don't be against things, be for things, be pro things. Don't be against war, be pro peace. Anything we do against vibrationally, we create it, we make it stronger and stronger. But when we go pro something, when we go towards something, when we speak like that, we change that. That was my last word. Sorry, it was like a book.
No problem, Hamid. That was beautiful. I have heard it said, even in scientific circles, that if you're saying things like, if you focus on the word not, for example, do not do that, or cannot, or the NOT part of it, is that the mind often does not see the not. And so when you're trying to avoid something by using the negative, you're actually enforcing the very thing that you're trying to avoid. So it very much ties in with what you just said there too. And please jump in, stay with us here, because we're going to give it a wrap here, but we wanted to have Randall have a few words to finish off, and as well as the closing prayer. Thank you, Hamid, for your time and your excellent input. I really appreciate it. Randall, would you be so kind?
Everything is perfect moving toward completion. That is a statement I'll keep saying over and over again. And the reason that we do not judge scientific knowledge, things like the beautiful variety of things that Hamid brought to the show today, why judge it? We don't know if it'll happen or when it'll happen or whatever, but what's the point? Everything that he talked about is good for humanity, so leave it alone. If you choose to stay where I stay, like grounded on the flat earth, that's fine. If you choose to go up a little bit and some other level, that's fine. Like we're all here to choose and just to keep moving forward with love. So I'll end it, I guess, William. I think we're good for today. That was great. Thank you so much, Hamid. And yeah, please join us again on another show. We may not go as wide as we did on this one, but because Cody and Lee and I generally talk a lot more about the monetary thing, but that was a great show and it was wonderful and enlightening. I'm sure people got little tidbits. Everybody got their own stuff out of this that they can attach to their own story, which is what it's all about. Divine or direct, natural activation. Let your mind be open to things and then ground yourself and see what attaches to you the best. With peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on our minds. Abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.